Hello there again, my friends. This is a Boynish Dog, and welcome to Retro Edition. In today's video, we continue our exploration of the Atari 50th Anniversary Celebration Collection. The winds are turning, there's a storm coming, and various other cliches. Yes, the crashes are coming, but all is not lost. It was also a time of awesome games. So, without further ado, let's get started. To simplify things this episode, instead of just going through the timeline, I'll be grouping together the 2600 games, the 5200 games, the 7800 games, and as we have somehow got some room, I don't know how that happened, a little butchers at the home computers, including some duty of the time adverts. But first, let's get them out of the way, as I'm not a massive fan of sports. Yep, it's the Real Sports series. There were 7 games created for the series, but only 6 got released. Whoopee, all 7 are here. And let's start with Real Sports Baseball. I'm not really a fan of baseball, but I'm impressed how much they managed to squeeze in, and I love the little animations. Next up is Real Sports Volleyball. I didn't mind this one at all. Nice big basic characters that have charm to their stickman animation, and not too bad control. And I'm not too bad at playing it either. Next up we have Real Sports American Football. I can imagine there are fans of this game, but as for me, moving on. And then we've got Real Sports Real Football. I enjoyed this more than I thought I would when playing for this video. Doesn't mean I'll play it again though. Real Sports Tennis, the star to me of the Real Sports series. I don't know why I love this game, I just do. I had it on my original 2600, so maybe it's nostalgia. Then we've got Real Sports Basketball. This game was never released, but joy of joys, here is the unreleased prototype. And finally, Real Sports Boxing is the final game in the series, and I must admit, I'm rather impressed. It has quite a lot of detail for a 2600 game, even in an animated crowd. I quite like it. And now for the remaining 2600 games. Demons to Diamonds, released in 1982, this 2600 exclusive aimed at younger players, sent them to a shooting gallery of a cosmic carnival. This game's quite fun. Centipede, released in 1983, this 2600 version is just as playable as the arcade original, with smooth controls and vibrant colours. Quad Run, right, so in this game you can shoot, but then you must quickly run to the other side to catch it after it's passed through an enemy, or you can't shoot it again. It's very psychedelic. Moving on. Miner 2049er, released in 1983, this actually is a fun game, if a little frustrating to begin with, and equally frustrating when you've almost completed a stage and you die, and you have to start all over again. Saboteur, Atari designed Howard Scott Marshall's final game before he left the company, was never completed and therefore never released, but this collection is a playable version of a nearly finished prototype, and it's kind of crazy fun. Millipede, released in 1984, and you can never go wrong with Millipede. More frantic than Centipede. And I'm just as bad at both of them. When a single segment reaches the bottom, I can never hit them. Crystal Castles, released in 1984, a decent attempt at replicating the arcade version for the home console. It's just so fiddly to collect those crystals. Well, dashes. Solaris, released in 1986, and a technical masterpiece for the 2600. And I couldn't agree more. It feels so epic and light years ahead of other games on the system. I love the galactic map. Secret Quest, released in 1989, a game I've never heard of, but instantly I'm hooked. It's just like a venture, Swordquest, etc., but in space. Here is a quick look at the first stage. You need to grab a weapon and kill enemies to collect either oxygen canisters or energy for your weapon. Find and use symbols within the space station to detonate the self-destruct sequence, then haul ass to the teleport. I bloody love it. Dark Chambers, released in 1989 with a much different feel to it than the 7800 version. Because the way it's constructed, while more basic, each level feels larger and more twisted. Your character can be annoyingly slowed by diagonal moves or your friend to speed up. Swordquest, the epic and ambitious 4-part series that included an ongoing DC comic series and real-life prizes, with each game hiding a complex puzzle that would lead to a single player winning a 25,000 prize crafted from golden gemstones. The comic was an integral part of the process. Not only did each comic serve as a prologue to its respective game, the game itself would send you back to the comic with clues like 16-2, which is page 16, frame 2, which would in turn give you a clue to solving the game's puzzles. But of course, of all ambitious things, it didn't go all exactly to plan. The third game could only be obtained through Atari Club mail order service, and the fourth was never released. Until now. The first game was on the Evercade, and though an interesting addition, it was hard to know what the fuck was going on. Here, not only can we look up the original fairly detailed instructions, but we also get the comics so we can actually play the game properly. On top of that, we also have the full set and complete adventure, though the fourth game, for obvious reasons, doesn't have a comic to accompany it. Earthworld, the first of a projected 4-game series. Earthworld promised a real-world gold talisman worth 25,000 to players who could survive its mini-games and solve its hidden puzzle. The first game is themed around the Zodiac, with each of the 12 special rooms a sign thereof. Fireworld, the second in the 4-part Swordquest series. Much like Earthworld, it contains an intricate puzzle that only solving through careful observations of the game and included comic. This time around, the game theme is the Tree of Life. Waterworld, the third entry in the series, is very rare now, as it was sold exclusively through the Atari Club mail order service. As the name would suggest, this is a very ocean-based adventure, with among other minigames swimming through sharks and trying to avoid octopus. And finally, Airworld, the fabled fourth action-adventure game, is no longer a myth. Created by Digital Eclipse and based on the original designs, players can explore a puzzling world based on I Ching in the quest for enlightenment and the hunt for the game's final solution. I guess we should talk about the 5200. What does Jerry Jessup think about it?
The 5200 was a tragedy. The 5200 was a good idea gone horribly wrong.
Crikey. It had a few issues, didn't it? The higher-ups saw the Intellivision controllers and thought, we want some of that. But probably a little too late. They also wanted analog controls, but the controls never centered. The controllers, though looking cool, in the end hurt the machine. Also, the designers and engineers said they could make it backwards compatible with the 2600. The higher-ups in all their stupid wisdom said no, make sure it can't, so it couldn't. And then at the last minute they changed their mind and demanded backwards compatibility, but it was too late. So an add-on had to be created, and this monstrosity was born.
We called this thing the piggyback parasite. We were just horribly embarrassed by that situation. That never should have happened.
And with that, a few 5200 games were included in the collection. Let's take a look. Super Breakout, though not the massive leap I think you would hope for this console, this is still a fine game, and better than the arcade original. Definitely easier. Missile Command. What's an Atari console without Missile Command? It's like Wipeout and PlayStation. This is a good version, but again doesn't feel the massive upgrade you would expect. Star Raiders. Wow. Now this makes you feel like you've bought the next generation of Atari systems. This game has so much depth compared to a lot of what comes before. We've got star maps to navigate, and we all like a good map. You can walk to locations, scan the surrounding areas, and of course blow the shit out of the enemy. A fantastic game to get lost in. And the Millipede 5200 prototype. You can tell it's a prototype as the game is a bit jerky, but my goodness does it go batshit insane quite quickly. Be interesting to see if the final version would have been as bonkers. And Bounty Bob Strikes Back. Supposedly one of the rarest games for the 5200 system, this is an awesome sequel to the fun Miner 24-9er with interesting and well designed levels.
When you have a tragedy, and I do believe that the fall of the video game industry in the early 80s was a tragedy. It was a tragedy to many, many people.
It ultimately led to, of course, things like E.T. being, actually buried in the desert like garbage.
And what happened was that E.T. became the face of the crash of the video game industry, and I, of course, was the butt behind the face. That's kind of the way it went.
Many years later, some dudes went and dug up those buried games, and these pictures show a sad sight. Look, I know it's E.T., but have you ever seen such a sad picture? But it's not all shit news. In 1986, the shiny new 7800 was released. Well, not so shiny new, it was meant to be released in 1984. Sensibly, this time it was fully backwards compatible with the 2600 cartridges out of the box. And with these games, you could feel the upgrade straight away. And look at those sexy controllers. So Asteroids, a huge visual upgrade to the arcade and 2600 version. The asteroids actually look like asteroids. I'm still a sucker for the vibrant colours and basic look of the 2600 though. Centipede. Again, sporting a visual upgrade to the 2600 version, but for the time, this is a 5-year-old arcade port. Dark Chambers, released in 1989, this is easily my favourite 7800 game ever. It's Gauntlet Stoner Edition. But saying that, get far enough or go straight for Advanced and get quite bonkers. I just love it, love it, love it. It's also a secret game on the Ever KVS if you put both Atari console collection cartridges in at the same time. So we've now come to the end of our time with the first 3 Atari consoles, but we know we will be back. Up next, it's time to look at another thing Atari was well known for, home computers. And there's no time like the present. In 1979, the Atari 400 and 800 were released. There wasn't much difference between the two models, except the 800 had more bells and whistles like bigger and expandable memory, the use of up to 4 disk drives, a second cartridge slot, and a typewriter style keyboard, compared to the 400's membrane keyboard. However, due to the low price of the 400, it had double the sales compared to its beefier 800 brother. Please enjoy the trilogy of Atari trailers, though apologies for the intrusive control panel at the start of each.
How's business?
Fine.
Terrific. How do you keep track of your customers?
My Atari 400 home computer. Excuse me, Dad.
Why Atari?
Shopped around. It's a lot of computing capability for such a low price.
You use it a lot?
Sheriff, life's not all fun and games. There's homework I even program.
Uh-huh.
Atari has lots of software, not all the others do. And of course, only Atari has games like Centipede.
Games?
Well, we executives have to unwind.
Atari Home Computers. Only Atari puts so much in it for you.
Bought a home computer, huh?
An Atari 800 home computer. Nothing but the best for my son.
Why Atari?
Atari makes computers that, seem friendly, part of the family.
Want to show off?
Sure, they're real easy. Terrific software, huh?
Nice graphics.
And how do you like this for sound capability?
Impressive.
It sure is.
So what's his first project?
Soon, the alphabet. A is for airplane.
Atari Home Computers. Only Atari puts so much in it for you.
Atari brings the computer age home.
Okay, Ma. What's the capital of Nebraska? Come on. I'm trying.
Atari home computers can teach you or reach you with important information anytime, day or night.
I already checked the computer. The Bears lost.
How about the Lions?
Oh, you owe me on that, too.
And if your jump shot is a little off, we can help you there, too.
Hey guys, how about a deal? The car tonight for Atari basketball.
No.
In fact, there's no end to your possibilities with Atari home computers. They're easy to use and afford. But best of all, they just might be the wisest investment you'll ever make.
Watch this. Hey, Mom. What's the capital of Delaware?
Dover.
I told you she's smart.
Atari home computers. We've brought the computer age home.
Caverns of Mars, released in 1981, Caverns of Mars is a great vertical scrolling shooter where you're forced to move down a cavern trying to avoid hitting anything, shooting fuel blocks on the way to top yours up, set a bomb, then escape. Basic looking, but great fun.
These families are learning about home computers. The family with the Atari home computer is learning
Spanish, German,
French.
Italian.
the other.
No foreign languages.
The Atari family is learning
3 programs teach us to program.
the other.
We've only one.
And while the Atari family learns to play Centipede Star Raiders and soon,
E.T.
the other learned
We made a mistake.
over 1,000 programs featuring the world's most popular games, but sorry, only with Atari.
They released a few new models which were basically redressed 400 and 800s, and then in 1985 came the legendary Atari ST. I was so jealous of my mate who had one. I used to go around every day after school, and then I got an Amiga, and well, I never used to go around anymore. We've only food-fight an example of some of the latest systems. As always, this is a good game, but probably not the best version. In 1989, Atari created the very first Palm-top PC, the Portfolio, and the final computer Atari created was the 32-bit Atari Falcon. Before we go, let's look at one final game, and a bloody good one at that, created in 2007, Yomp. And finally, we reached the end of the 1980s. In the next episode, we'll be taking our first steps into the 90s, where 2 big cats await. I know that was kind of a whistle-stop tour, but there was a lot to get through, and it cleared the way for what I've probably been most excited for, the Lynx and the Jaguar games. And if you made it here to the end of the video, thank you ever so much for joining me. Please leave a thumbs up or a comment if you would like. Either way, I'm just chuffed you poked your head in the door to take a gander. As always, I hope you have an awesome day, my friends. And until next time, be singing.